Welcome to another episode of Morgan's Point of View, where we talk movies, TV, sports, and other pop culture topics. I'm Morgan. This episode, we're talking about the direction of TV and movies, NBA All-Star selections, and the state of American wrestling. So Matt Damon has been promoting his new Netflix movie, The Rip, which came out, I think, January 16th. And in an interview with Joe Rogan, he was talking about the way Netflix films are now produced and made. We'll play the clip here.
Experience of watching at home, I think, you're watching in a room, the lights are on, other shit's going on, the kids are running around, the dogs are running around, whatever it is. You know what I mean? It's just a very different level of attention that you're willing to, or that you're able to give to it. And that has a big effect. And it also ends up having an effect, or is starting to have an effect on how you make movies. Like, for instance, Netflix, the standard way to make an action movie that we learned was, you usually have like 3 set pieces, one in the first act, one in the second, and one in the third. And, they kind of ramp up, and the big one with all the explosions, and you spend most of your money on that one in the third act. That's your kind of finale. And now they're like, can we get a big one in the first 5 minutes to get somebody, we want people to stay tuned in. And it wouldn't be terrible if you reiterated the plot 3 or 4 times in the dialogue, because people are on their phones while they're watching, you know what I mean?
So the fact that he said in that clip that you kind of have to reiterate the dialogue 3 to 4 times, and that you have to have 3 big action set pieces in act. So, basically you have, in act 1, you have to have a action sequence before, in the first 5 minutes, in the middle of that act, and the last part of that act, and same goes for act 2 and act 3. And I think this is kind of ridiculous. Especially the reiteration of plot 3 to 4 times is a lot. Now, if you're watching a Netflix movie at home, you're gonna be on your phone. It's just the nature of how we work as human beings. But the fun of it is, well, not the fun of it, but the duty that you have after you've been on your phone is to try to catch up in your brain to what's going on without them saying it again. I think that's just what we should all do, so you can respect the art form of what they're trying to do with the movie, and you yourself can put your brain to work trying to figure out what's going on. I think that's the best way for everybody to do things. I think for you to fundamentally change how movies are made, especially streaming movies, is a little bit insane to me. And it kind of dumbs down the product. Now with Stranger Things, even though that's a television show, we've seen the reiteration of plot multiple times and things dumbed down. Everything is plainly said. There's no hidden subtext. There's no things behind the lines and meaning to really grasp onto. They're kind of just saying it because they know you're on your phone, so you just need to be able to hear that and not be able to look into the way they're acting, their facial reactions, their body language, other things that come with acting in a performance in art like this. And I do think that puts Netflix movies at a disadvantage. And especially here's what's really scary, right? Warner Brothers has been bought by Netflix. So are we going to see this change with Warner Brothers movies? Warner Brothers is one of my favorite studios. If you could even have a favorite studio, I just think what they've been doing over there in their film division has been very interesting with, like, Sinners, so they have original IP. With, like, their DC stuff, so, like, Superman, their actual, IP that's been around for years and years and years. And I just think that would do a disservice to these movies to have them have to dumb down what they're trying to say. Like, I want a lot of things to read into. I want a lot of things happening. And the fact that we would do it this way is weird. And also the action set pieces. This isn't as big of a disadvantage to me, because with action movies, I do like a lot of action in my action movies. I can't lie. But I do want there to be able to not be able to be forced to change the way you think about doing action, because usually it's one set piece of act that builds up, as he was explaining in the clip. And so I think if that's the way it's supposed to be done, then just do it that way. No, you can have a good action movie that has 3 set pieces to act, sure, but if somebody feels more comfortable doing it with one action piece and act, I don't want them to be able to feel like constrained to having to do it this way. And so hopefully, I don't even know. It kind of seems a little dire just because Netflix is going to have so much control over what movies get made, over the movie industry in its totality. So to see them think about movies this way, also mentioning the 17-day release window, like having movies in theaters for 17 days, like that way of thinking is just so flawed to me. There's something special about going to the movie theaters. there's something special about being able to see a film and have to find some meaning, or not even have to find, just the fun of finding hidden meanings behind what they're saying. Like, I think that's fun, and I think this is interesting, the way that the movie industry is going. So let's head over to TV. The Game of Thrones spinoff, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, came out on Sunday. I'm not a Game of Thrones girly, so I didn't watch it. One day I will be. One day I will watch Game of Thrones in its totality, but right now I just can't get into it, so it's not meant for me to watch right now. But the run times came out, and I thought this was pretty interesting. So it's going to be 6 episodes. The first episode was the longest at 42 minutes. The rest of them are going to be around 30. That's ridiculous to me, because this isn't a sitcom. Like, and even if it was a sitcom wouldn't be 6 episodes. Like, it's a little bit ridiculous at this point, and I think TV as a medium is episodic, and, you know, multiple episodes. You gotta give at least 13 plus. Especially, this is a show that I believe isn't gonna be a miniseries. Like, it's gonna have multiple seasons, so you can't even put like it's a miniseries on it. It's a multiple season show, so it's kind of like, what are we doing? Especially something as prestigious as an HBO show, which has been known to have episodes around an hour long, and like 13 episode seasons, and like we've been progressively seeing the shortening of TV, and we've been seeing the movification of TV. Like, it's the point where they're kind of closer to each other, TV and movies, than I would like them to be. I would like them to be some type of distinction and separation, a little bit more so than there's been the past couple of years. And again, using the example of Stranger Things, like, those were movies. Those were feature-length films. Like, they were like 2-hour episodes, and the 3-year wait, like, this is a movie franchise. Like, that's just, it is a little ridiculous to me. I don't know. I'm still a cable girly at the end of the day, so I'm going to have my 22-episode shows. But it still is a little bit disheartening, I think. And, like, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, like, this is definitely not what you're used to, right? Because Game of Thrones was 8 seasons, and I think it was it like 13 episodes a season? Maybe somewhere around there. Maybe the first season was a little bit shorter. But the episodes were 50 minutes at least, so this is definitely something different than everybody's used to, but we'll see how that goes. So let's go to NBA All-Star selections. So Jalen Brunson being a East starter. So I'll go through all the East starters. So Jalen Brunson, Cade Cunningham, Jaylen Brown, Giannis, and Tyrese Maxey. This is a cool little lineup. Like, I don't think there was anybody I'd trade out or replace. The East is always going to be easier to predict in terms of all-star starters, in terms of playoff seeding, in terms of everything, because there's only so many teams that are actually good and actually going to do something in the East, right? And so I think these teams are great. Cade Cunningham getting an all-star nod is great. Jaylen Brown has taken over that team in the wake of Jason Tatum's injury. He's risen to the occasion. Tyrese Maxey has been amazing to watch, and now he's getting his own signature shoe, so that's great. He just seems like he has so much fun when he's out there playing. Like, you just can't help but be like, the joy of it is infectious, right? And so always happy to see him in a good position. Jalen Brunson, what he's been able to do with the New York Knicks is kind of like insane. Like, it really, him going there has paid off and paid dividends, so excited for him. So in the West, we got Luka, Shea, Steph Curry, Victor Wembanyama, and Nikola Jokic. This is fun. I like this a lot. A lot of people are saying Ant should have been in this starting lineup, and I do agree. I believe that Victor Wembanyama and Ant were tied in, like, player, GM, like that side in critics' votes, I think. But the fan vote is what pushed Victor Wembanyama over the edge to get this nod. And, you know, I do think Victor has been down a lot with injuries. And so for me, it's like every time I get to see him play, it's kind of a blessing, because it feels like he goes down with something like every other game. And that's, you know, not rare for somebody of his size. But Anthony Edwards has just been really consistent, and his ability to be able to find something that's wrong or something that's lacking in his game and immediately try to fix it over the offseason is remarkable, and it's something that you really only see in people who are going to be great or who are greats. And so I'm really excited for Ant's future, and him in the playoffs is a show like no other. Like, he really, like, is competitive and wants to beat his mentors, his peers. It doesn't matter. And so, it's upsetting. But at the end of the day, there's still going to be All-Star, but All-Star reserves is different than an All-Star starter. So, but I like this little list. I'm going to go over the state of American wrestling really quickly because it's something that's been on my mind for a little minute. I just think, I'm a little bored. And I don't know. I don't know if this is a shared experience or if other people are feeling this way, but I think I'm just a little bit bored. I'm bored because it feels like everything is playing it safe and everything is kind of doing the status quo. You know what I mean? I want some type of change up. I want somebody to deviate from the path of what's supposed to be American wrestling and try to do something a little bit different. It's similar camera angles, similar presentation of the show itself. It's very just safe and calm and quiet. And I want somebody to kind of shake it up a little bit. The WWE, I got into wrestling in 2023. So learning about their history, you uncover new stuff every day that they've done. And you're like, whoa. But specifically in 2025, the way they conducted themselves was a little bit appalling. And it was a little bit whoa, oh, you guys are really going there. And I think in 2026, that's what year we're in, 2026, they've kind of not walked it back, but tried to conceal themselves a little bit more in who they are, right? It seems like, but also at the same time, they're not. I don't know. What makes me say that is there was a report by Wrestling Observer. That's kind of one of the oldest, I guess, institutions of wrestling journalism. So when they say something, I'm interested to see because, people in WWE are going to say stuff to them, right? And they were it was a report that, in this recent WWE tryout, Triple H is going to try to push more black talent in bodybuilders because he's heard the backlash, right? And it's going to be interesting to see if he follows through with that because you could see in 2025, 2024, there was just a lack of male black talent being put in prominent positions. It seemed like every time they would get some type of momentum, they would be squashed and pushed back down the card, right? And it was interesting to me because when you look at their developmental system, they had so much talent that were black males. You could just see it all over NXT, which is their developmental system, right? So I was always interested to see when those people get brought up, how are they going to be treated? Because you saw Carmelo Hayes. What year did he come up? He either came up in 2023 or 2024. But it was a fight for him to be able to get where he is now, which is the United States Championship. And that kind of signaled, I don't want to say a change because it's just too early in the process to be calling that a change when you've seen them be done wrong, meaning black male talent, for so long. But it felt like it was a step in the right direction, right? He gets the United States Championship. It seems cool. And then Obafemi is on his way up, and he didn't even have to lose the developmental title. He just relinquished it, right? Okay, cool. Javon Evans is somebody who's undeniable as a talent, a generational talent, somebody you only see, again, once in a generation, right? And so he's getting called up, and he seems like he's going to be in a prominent position. Cool. Those are two black males, so I'm okay. That coupled with the report that you're going to push more black males, maybe this is right. And you see Powerhouse Hobbs from AEW sign with WWE, and we're going to see how they implement and use him. So I think if they push black talent and they have new faces in that main event scene, in that mid-card scene, shake it up a little bit, ruffle some feathers. Let's see some different types of angles and different types of wrestling. And different types of character interaction, character layers, dynamics between characters. And then let's see, because I think once they do that, their company will be more interesting and better off for it. AEW, I like it because I've just gotten into it, so a lot of it is still fresh and new to me, right? But there's something about, it feels a little bit stagnant in a way. And I don't know what it is because we just saw the title change hands. It seems like there's a little bit of momentum. It might be that I don't like MJF and MJF is their world champion. That could be it. But there's just something that's not like they're not. It's just it feels like I can miss an episode. Now, I love what they've been doing with Adam Page and Swerve Strickland in that story. That's what's keeping me intrigued. And we just saw Adam Page win the trios title with Jet Speed. That's cool, and I'll be watching for that. But overall, their whole show feels the same. And I think it's the over-reliance on the Don Callis family. It feels like they're too big a part of the show and it suffocates the show as a whole. Because when you have a character that's too involved, meaning Don Callis, with the overall working and the inner workings of your show, like, you really can't get past a segment or two without seeing somebody from the Don Callis family, because that cast of characters is so big. And we see Kenny Omega kind of still fooling with them, like still having a feud with them. And apparently they've been feuding since 2023, which is a little ridiculous to me. Like, cut it out, please. And yeah, so I would like to see that kind of be dialed down a little bit. What else don't I like? That's kind of it. And I feel like once that kind of fades away, it's cool. The Jon Moxley situation, him turning back babyface, is interesting to me. It's intriguing to me. But his group still sticking with him is a little bit puzzling in a way. Like, I'm waiting for that turn to happen, and it's not happening quick enough for me, unless they're just not going to do it anymore, which I don't know. Okay, let's go to TNA really quick. But I'm liking AEW overall, though, more than WWE and any other American wrestling. So TNA is the third American wrestling company. And what they've been doing over there is, I would say, malpractice. I just don't know any other term for it. I mean, they finally got a TV deal, meaning their product is going to have weekly TV episodes, and it's on AMC. And their first episode was a disaster. I mean, visa issues, they couldn't get some people over there. They didn't sign some people to contracts, so they ended up going to AEW. That was, like, ridiculous to me. Like, they had people wrestling without contracts, which is crazy. They had Perez Hilton on the show. I don't know why. He hasn't been famous in forever and a day. Like, I don't know why he's on your debut show. AJ Styles being on is cool. Your main event scene is a little lackluster for me. And it feels like you don't have enough talent, but I'm confused because the indie scene, a lot of people are getting signed to AEW or WWE. Why are you not throwing your hat in the ring and saying, hey, like, you can join them and have a mid-card spot, or you can join us and have a main event spot? And maybe that won't work, and maybe they'll still go to AEW or WWE, but I think you should at least try. Like, have your show geared towards those young wrestlers and be like, hey, like, over there, it's still occupied by the old guard, meaning people who are, like, in their 40s, late 30s. You come over here, we're featuring you now. We're not waiting to put a title on you. We don't think you're too young. Like, you can do something now. And so that's what I want to see in American wrestling. Hopefully they step it up a little bit, because this start of the year has been a little bit lackluster. That's it for this episode. Thanks for watching or listening. I'll be back next week with another episode. Come back here for all the latest news on sports, entertainment, and pop culture. Follow me on TikTok at morganspointofview_, and YouTube at morganspointofview. Have a good rest of your day.